Hey guys, thanks for tuning in and welcome to the second episode of Offroad YouTube 101. Today, we're going to talk about the basics of shooting video off-road. I figure it's a good topic to start out on. We did a little bit of background on me and how I got started on YouTube in the previous episode. If you haven't checked that out, then head on over to the channel and check it out for yourself. If you did watch that video, you'll probably notice that the set's continuing to improve. I've cleaned things up a little bit, and I'm hoping that the audio in this episode is back up to par where it should be. Had a little bit of an issue getting things dialed in last time, so I'm hoping the lighting and the audio are much better this time around, and we will keep improving on the set and on the production value. With that being said, let's dig into it. I've made myself a little list here to keep myself on track, and let's start off talking about the basics of shooting video in an off-road scenario. So as a lot of you guys know, I shoot video of side-by-sides and ATVs outside in all sorts of settings. You don't really get to choose the setting in the sense of what's going to be around you or the weather. You don't always get to choose who's going to be around you. And there's a lot of variables that you really just can't control. Shooting outside, shooting live action content, shooting lifestyle-based content, when there's a bunch of people and a bunch of machines around is unpredictable. It's not like filming in a studio. We don't have we can't control everything around us. There's actually very little that can be controlled in an off-road shooting environment, which is what makes this type of content so difficult to film, both from an aspect of the skill set required to film it, as well as the gear required to capture it properly. I'm sure a lot of you guys have been out and everyone's got a GoPro these days, or the cameras on our phones shoot excellent footage. And you go out there and let's break it down and make it as easy. Think of the typical video you see on an Instagram page or a Facebook page, and oh my God, something crazy's happening. That guy's about to roll down that hill. And they point the camera at the ground, or they point it up at the sky and they start screaming and stuff like that, but they're not focusing on the shot. How do you go out and how do you capture that moment in the best way possible? I know a lot of you guys have been out on a trail and you're like, you go up this hill or there's this obstacle on your trail system that's just awesome and you want to show the world. You go out there, you guys send it up the hill, it looks awesome. Then you go home and you look at the video and it sucks. Or the hill looks flat. You can't see how steep it is. Or the audio, it's unusable. Or the lens was dirty. So many variables play in. And with a lot of stuff off-road, it's not like in the studio where you can just say, hey, you know, let's retake that. You know, let's take 5 and let's do it again. It's not a Hollywood production where you can just tell the actor to rerun that scene. Once somebody sent it up a hill and, you know, broken an axle halfway up and still made it and roosted his way up there and no one thought they'd make it and everyone's cheering, you can't just be like, oh, I forgot to hit record, can we redo that? When a machine is rolling down a hill and you don't have your camera on, you can't just be like, hey guys, can we redo that roll? It just doesn't happen. A big part of making these videos appealing and look good is simply being able to capture the moment in the moment. There's no secret really, but you do learn a certain skill set. You do learn where to stand, where not to stand, who to pay attention to. You learn how to set your cameras up for lighting. You know which camera to use, which angle to use. These are all things you figure out with trial and error. I've been filming these videos for many, many years now, and I mean, I've still missed some of the best shots. I mean, some of the best shots we've got is only a fraction of the stuff we've witnessed. You miss a lot of content out there because you can only film one thing at a time, and sometimes you're just not at the right place at the right time. So let's go break through this in a little bit more of an organized fashion. So we've touched on the fact that it's not like a studio. You just can't control your environment. It's not that easy. You can't redo a shot. You get one chance. Now, can you re-hit a jump? Yeah. Can you redo a climb? Yeah. But you'll never ever get to redo that event that's already occurred. So you might redo the climb 3 more times, but it's still not going to be as good as that first time you didn't film it, for example. So in that sense, you get one shot. Weather. There's one. So before we jump into the rest, I use a lot of different camera gear. In this video, we won't focus on specific camera gear. We're going to talk about just generalized basics. In an upcoming episode, I'm going to talk about my GoPros, about my camcorder, about my DSLR, about the different cameras we use, the setup on those cameras, the different GoPro settings, the microphones, how to capture proper audio, and all that stuff. Those are going to be episodes within themselves. Right now, I'm just trying to set a foundation for the upcoming episodes. So before you light up the comments about me not being specific or me not going over camera settings, I will. I'm going to go over all of that. But we got to start at the basics, and then we're going to work our way into the intermediate and advanced stuff and into the more specific type content like specific cameras and settings. So weather. Rain, dust, snow, heat, cold, freezing, anything. Wind. All of those are conditions that you have to deal with. You get to a ride and it starts off as a sunny day, but it can turn cloudy. You go into the bush and it can turn shady. There's shadows to deal with. There's all sorts of changing weather conditions to deal with. There's temperature extremes, from super cold and freezing to super hot and humid. The camera gear. A lot of the cameras don't like these weather swings. GoPros hate freezing conditions because lithium-ion batteries can't stand the cold. They're not designed to work well in the cold, so you need strategies to remedy that. GoPros GoPros don't like extreme heat spikes either. Lithium-ion batteries have a heat range that they function well in, that they're efficient in. So when you look at a camera like a GoPro, it's got so much jammed into that little package with this little battery trying to provide enough juice to keep this camera going and stabilize the image and all that jam, that, you're asking for a lot. So yeah, it's common for the cameras to get too cold and freeze up and die. It's common for the cameras to overheat and freeze up and you lose the clip. I'm sure a lot of you guys that have filmed with a GoPro know that terrible feeling of, oh yeah, you're watching this wicked clip, it's awesome, and then, oh no, the image just froze, but the audio keeps going. GoPros have this way of glitching out when they overheat that they'll keep recording audio, but the clip will freeze. And it's just the downside. There's a temperature range and a use range of that camera, and sometimes they function in super extreme conditions. But with that being said, when it's super hot or super cold, either end of that spectrum, the likelihood of things messing up is a lot higher. Moisture. Yeah, stuff like GoPros, they're waterproof, they're splash-proof, that's great. But a lot of the other high-end equipment, like my camcorder, you're basically carrying around a $5,000 piece of professional equipment that you cannot get wet, you cannot splash. Maybe if the lens gets hit with a bit of debris, that's okay. But if you submerge that camera, it's game over. There's $5,000 in the junk. It's garbage. You're not salvaging that camera. You drop that camera, it's game over. The lens on that camera gets hit with a rock, it's probably game over. So there's a lot of risks involved. Getting the good shot sometimes requires the good equipment, which isn't necessarily designed to live in the environment we want it to live in. Most of these cameras weren't designed with the thought of getting an 8-pound hunk of mud chucked at it, or being outside when it's minus 40, okay, I'm being extreme, or being outside when it's snowing and it's really cold out. They weren't designed with that in mind. A lot of these cameras are designed to be used in a studio setting, like the camcorders I use. Yeah, action cams, GoPros, they factor in inclement weather, but they also limit the type of shot you can get. What else? Lighting. Lighting, guys. It's too dark, it's too sunny, it's too shadowy. Quick light changes from dark to sunny. That's something you have to deal with. Changes in the lighting temperature, white balance, all that stuff. When it's really sunny, you can get super washed out highlights, which causes you to lose the depth in the shot. which doesn't let you see how steep that hill is. And then you get the opposite spectrum when you're trying to film in 4K, for example. I film all the videos in 4K and I have been for quite some time. You need to capture enough light to give that image quality, that rafter. So when you drop into low light conditions, a lot of the cameras start struggling, especially the smaller action cams. Yeah, they've gone a long way. They've gone a long way. They shoot a lot better than they did, and they pack a lot of performance into a small package, but there are limitations. This is one a lot of you guys will probably be able to relate to: dirty lens. Dirty lenses. I mean, when you're riding in mud, in water, in the conditions we ride ATVs and side-by-sides in, or Jeeps or whatever you do, then you must be acquainted with the fact that every time you're about to get the best shot ever, the mud, that one drop of mud, manages to find the lens. So I have this OCD compulsion that I am constantly checking and wiping my camera lenses. Any chance I get. When I mount cameras in my Razor, you'll notice they're obviously usually mounted in a location where either I can wipe the lens or my partner, my co-pilot or the camera person can help me wipe the lens. Every time I stop or get out, I check all those lenses. So many shots get missed or ruined because of a dirty lens, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can relate to that. One thing that takes a lot of practice and training is keeping a mental note of what you're driving through, where your cameras are, and whether or not they're in a debris field, for example. Certain camera locations in certain weather, the camera will stay clean pretty much all day. Other situations, you basically get like a few seconds and that lens is rendered unusable because it's so dirty. I'm wiping the lens so much on certain rides, like I cut out most of it, but like it's very edit intensive. I mean, you got to keep that lens clean or nothing matters. I mean, you can't get a shot with a mud-covered lens. That's something you don't really have to deal with in a studio setting or indoors, or if you're filming your shop or if you're filming an unboxing video. That's one of the biggest problems filming off-road in this environment. Now, on top of the fact that you're going to have dirty lenses, you're going to have broken lenses, scratched lenses, broken cameras, cameras fall off the machine, cameras get driven over, cameras get lost and forgotten. Cameras get submerged, cameras get splashed, cameras that shouldn't get splashed, GoPros get dirty, and eventually even a GoPro that's weather sealed or a DSLR that's weather sealed will start showing signs of wear when it's exposed to extreme environments for an extended period of time. I mean, nothing lasts forever. Camera gear is a wear item. What else? Audio, guys, audio. Audio is the most difficult part of all of these videos. Also, one of the most frequent comments I get, even though I put a lot of effort into audio, is, oh, I can't hear what you're saying, or the audio sucks. I like to think that my audio in the riding videos is pretty good on average. Better in some than others, better in certain conditions than others. I mean, that's just the nature of the beast. But capturing good quality audio is so difficult. There's wind noise. Wind noise is a killer. If you ride a motorcycle, an ATV, a Jeep or a dirt bike, a side-by-side, and you're moving at any rate of speed, wind noise is a killer. It's so hard to combat that wind noise, but we will go over some tips and tricks on how to get good audio in its own video, because that is an art form within itself. And then even now, I've got audio worked out pretty good in most settings. Some days you just fail. Some shots you just fail. No matter how prepared you are, the off-road gods control it. They control whether you get the shot. Sometimes you get a wicked shot, but without the audio, you lose a lot of that depth. Sometimes you get great audio, but no image because it's dirty. So many things need to line up to get that wicked shot, which is why at the end of the day, you'll see me filming with 4 or 5 different cameras, and we generate so much content. I can generate anywhere from 300 to 500 gigabytes of raw content in a one-day ride. On a weekend, we can easily generate a terabyte of content. For these long 2-hour videos, for example, I'm filming on 3 to 5 cameras. We'll generate about 500-ish gigs of content, which ends up being about in total anywhere from 5 to 8 hours of raw video footage to edit, sometimes more like 10, and that needs to be condensed down to an hour and a half or 2 hours. And I've gotten pretty good at turning on and off cameras, because especially filming in 4K, the amount of storage space you require is crazy. Currently hooked up to my computer, I've got about 60 terabytes for all you computer guys. Multiple hard drives, multiple externals, multiple internals, 3 solid states, an NVMe drive. My computer has so much storage, and I mean, I can fill up an 8 to 10 terabyte hard drive in 2 months easy if I'm filming a lot. And I do store a lot of my content. I don't delete it all. I do hoard it. I've got a problem with throwing stuff out. And a lot of you guys will also remember that you get these things called hard drive failures, or you mess up and you delete something, or you lose a SD card, or something messes up or gets corrupted. I mean, a bunch of you will probably remember a little while ago I had a solid state drive failure, and I lost a lot of content, including a really, really good video with some of the best content that until today. I think that would have been one of the best videos I've ever made. It was almost ready to drop, and boom, she gone. What else? Timing. I've already touched on it. I mean, when you got 5, 6, 10, 20 side-by-sides out, and there's an obstacle, or there's 2 or 3 lines up an obstacle, how do you film everyone at once? You have to be in the right place at the right time, and you still got to ride. You still got to ride the trail. I got to ride, and I got to film, and I got to think about all that stuff. It's not just like going out for the rip. I mean, I'm going out for the ride, and I'm also filming, and I got to focus on audio and angles and all my gear and changing batteries and changing SD cards and coordinating where everyone is. There's a lot going on. So yeah, various machines, lots of different people, multiple machines at once, and you just can't control everyone. Also, there's the fact that, you know, some people are uncomfortable on camera, or they don't want to be on camera. Some people get camera shy. We're lucky that over the last few seasons, a bunch of the core group members have gotten a lot more comfortable on camera. And these days, people in general are a little bit more comfortable on camera because of social media and stuff, so it makes it a lot easier. And the guys that are in the core crew, they enjoy being in the videos. This is a team environment. A lot of these videos wouldn't be anything without the guys we ride with. We're a bunch of friends, we have a good time, and we're lucky enough that we get to capture it and share it with the world. And you guys that are watching, thanks. I mean, these videos, I mean, they'd be nothing without you. I mean, what's the point of making these videos and putting so much time into them if no one's enjoying them? So unwanted behavior. There's a lot of stuff that happens in and around the videos that doesn't necessarily line up well or jive well with the online YouTube kind of environment and the codes of conduct and stuff like that. You know, drinking. Let's be honest, having a beer or two out on a ride is just the nature. It's just the lifestyle. I think if you're reasonable and responsible and moderate yourself, I mean moderation is kind of the key to life. There's nothing wrong with going out on a 6 or 7 hour drive or a ride, having lunch and then having a beer. But there's that line you don't want to cross of having 12 beers 2 hours into the ride and then doing stupid stuff or hurting yourself or someone else. I mean, you got to be realistic. And for a channel like mine that's got supporters and sponsors and big brands backing it, I mean, we got to draw the line somewhere. I mean, we can't be getting hammed and then showing all that on video. There's that thin line you got to ride between having fun and being responsible. Swearing. I mean, the YouTube algorithm doesn't like cursing and swearing. A lot of sponsors don't like cursing and swearing. We try to keep the content kind of around a PG-13 level because there's a wide range of people watching this content in a wide variety of settings. A lot of dealerships run this content. A lot of retail stores show this content in background on TVs. We can't have cussing and cursing in there. That's why you'll hear me going through the videos and beeping out all the swearing. I can't. With that being said, you know, there's controversial topics people talk about, political stuff, racist stuff. Things get said, you know, not necessarily always in the sense that someone's trying to be vulgar, but, you know, you're joking around, things get said. And these days it's easy to hurt people's feelings or step on toes, and it's easy to have things taken out of context. So I have to watch out, or you have to watch out when you're filming videos to kind of ride that line of what's humorous and what's funny and what can be kind of distasteful at times. So yeah, you just kind of gotta remember when the camera's rolling, there's a certain line you don't want to cross, because what you joke about behind closed doors, or what you say amongst your close friends, isn't exactly what you're going to say in a public environment or at work in front of your boss. So keep that in mind when you're making content on YouTube. I'm not telling you to not speak your mind or not speak freely, but grain of salt, guys. You gotta kind of draw the line somewhere. What else do I have on this long list of stuff to touch on? Well, where to film from? Well, that's a hard one. Am I going to stand at the bottom of the hill? Am I going to stand at the top of the hill? Am I going to stand in the middle of the hill? Left side or right side? Well, that's why you'll see in my videos we stand on top and on the bottom and sometimes in the middle. But when you only have one camera going and one angle to shoot from, a lot of it comes down to experience and trial and error, and you just have to you have to figure out what works. What works for one camera doesn't work for another camera. Sometimes you can stand in one spot on an obstacle and really show its depth, and you can show how steep a hill is. And then other times you'll film a hill that's actually way steeper, and it's going to look flat. And really, a lot of that is luck. Yes, there is skill involved in choosing a spot to stand in a camera angle, but you can't always stand where you want to, based on the setting that you're in. And sometimes it's also you got to stand where you can because someone's hitting a hill and you got a few seconds to line up and get that shot. So I think choosing an area to stand and understanding how your camera works and having a grasp and a concept of what that shot is going to look like on camera after you filmed it. Like when I'm filming something with my GoPro or I'm filming something with my camcorder, I've spent so much time behind that lens that I have a pretty darn good idea of exactly what it's going to look like on the computer once I transfer that data. I'm not hoping it looks good. I know that when I'm standing here filming that angle from this level, zoomed in at a certain point, I've got a pretty good concept of what the finished result is going to look like. Also, in a lot of cases, you can't really review the shot like you can in a studio environment. So once you shoot it, even if you do look at it and be like, oh man, that was the bad angle, you can't necessarily retake that shot. Maybe you can stand at a different spot for the next climb, but essentially, my chance to review is when I go home and I review all the content, I make a mental note, be like, yeah, next time we hit this trail or a similar obstacle to that, maybe I should kneel down a little more. Maybe I should go, further back from the hill. And you kind of start learning what works for you and the environment that you shoot in. There is no secret answer. Sometimes you get the shot, sometimes you don't. Multiple cameras, I touched on that. Which camera to use, camera settings. We'll dig into all that. I'll talk about what the GoPros are good for, where they struggle. I'll talk about GoPro settings that have worked for me. I'll talk about camcorders and microphones and all that in a future video. And then there's that aspect of who's going to film you. I'm the camera guy, for example. I put these videos together. I run into a problem. Who films me when I put down the camera? Who films me when it's my time to go? I want to be in the videos too. I want to show off the battle wagon. I want to show off the Razor and my driving capabilities. I want to see myself on the video as much as the other guys want to see themselves on the video. But you run into this problem of who do you trust with the camera? Not in the fact that you're scared they're going to drop it. They might. But there's a little bit more skill set involved in getting a shot than just handing someone a camera. Some people have a natural ability to film a good shot, and they just have it. Other people should be nowhere near a camera, or we'll just leave it at that. You learn kind of, I know the guys that we ride with that I can hand the camera to, and I know I'm probably going to get a good shot. I know my girlfriend is going to get a good shot. She's my right hand. Out there between the two of us, we get a majority of the shots, but I know if I hand fish the camera, he's usually getting a good shot. I know Corny has an idea of how to work that GoPro really well and get a good shot. I know Bill, you hand him the camcorder and he's pretty darn good with it. But there's a handful of other people, you hand them a camera and you're like, oh my god, once you look at the shots, you're like, I'm over here, you're filming over there, you're filming the ground, and you just missed a killer shot of me or someone else. So you kind of gotta, you take a risk when you hand the camera over to someone else. It's not easy being the camera guy because you can't film yourself essentially unless you hard mount a camera somewhere. So yeah, you can miss the shot. But anyways, I think that just kind of summarizes the basics and the difficulties of shooting off-road content. And a lot of people don't really realize the skill set and the effort that goes into creating these videos, not to mention the amount of time that goes into post-processing. The cost of acquiring all this equipment, the computer gear to run it, like my computer setup, we'll go over that, and the editing software. There's subscription fees to Adobe and all the software I use. I have a subscription fee monthly to like a music site like Epidemic Sound, where I pay a monthly fee so I can use royalty-free music. Like another difficulty of shooting off-road that just came to my head is copyrighted music. People love to blare their stereos. And when you got someone playing music really loud and it's the biggest hits or whatever, then YouTube's gonna flag you. They're gonna demonetize your content, or in certain serious cases, they can mute certain aspects of your video because it's copyright infringement. Someone else owns the right to that music, and you can't monetize it without giving them their share, getting the permission to do it. Thousands of dollars in camera gear, thousands of dollars in computer equipment. So like there's a lot of behind the scenes work that goes into these videos, which is why I've started this series. I know there's a lot of smaller creators out there. I know there's a lot of bigger creators. And I know you guys ask me all sorts of these questions, which is why I want to kind of give back and answer a lot of them in this format. So with that being said, if you don't make videos, if you don't really understand what goes into this, then all I'm going to tell, the take home is a lot of work goes into this. There's a lot of time that goes into this content. And there's a lot of people out there hiding behind a keyboard, saying, oh yeah, man, I make it up hills like that all the time. Oh, that's easy. Oh, your camera's shaky. Oh, the audio sucks. Well, you know what? Make a better video, send me a link, and we'll see. It's not that easy, especially not in these settings. So guys, as always, thanks for the support. Thanks for checking out the video. Make sure you leave it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. And stay tuned for some more videos on various topics. And also, I'll be launching another series of videos, which will be more tech talk related and more related around like product reviews, choosing the best tire setup, talking about axles, aftermarket components, maintenance items, stuff like that. So stay tuned. We'll have a lot of good content coming your way, and there's a ton of wicked riding action also heading your way. I got a ton of wicked videos that I'm working on right now that got some serious bangers in them. So hopefully you enjoy those. Anyways, ride safe out there, and see you in the next video. Oh yeah, if you want some Team AJP swag, head over to the Shopify store. I'll leave you a link in the description, as well as at the bottom of the video here. All the proceeds generated from the Shopify store go directly back into creating content for you guys to enjoy. So anyways, ride safe out there.